Hi, in our previous lecture, we saw what CSS means and what it can do to a web page or a website. In this class, we're going to illustrate that using some HTML codes or tags that we had used in a previous class. This class was for creating an HTML form. Now, it's a simple form that would display information, and then it would allow users to enter their information, and then at the same time it will also give an option of date, and then finally it will give options of buttons. So this basic form utilizes the normal HTML codes or tags, but we want to see what CSS can do. We already learned that CSS would do much more in terms of the looks and the feels of this site. And then we saw there are three ways in which we can do that, either inline or writing it somewhere in the head section or having it external. So in our case, we're going to have an external .css file. The first thing to do is to make sure in this case that where the form document is situated or is located, that's the same place where we're going to have our .css file. But just before we do that, let me just slightly modify this document so that we can be able to test many other more things. The very first thing I'm going to do is to just add some few sections here. The very first section would come right here, and I'm just going to have a div section there, and then this div should have an ID, and it's like I'm going to have an introduction section, and then once I have that, I can have a paragraph coming there. The paragraph can say that this message goes out to all KSU students during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, now that one is something that is straightforward, and then we can have a second paragraph, P, and then writes P. You can have this second paragraph having a class, and the class can be something by the name agent, meaning we want to urgently classify that paragraph. You can say that all students to pick up their exam cards from the nearest satellite campus. Okay, now that's fine. And then there's a label here that we added. This is the University of the 21st century. Okay, let me just do that. I'll just that. So we want to use now a CSS file. Now this CSS file has to be in the same place, or same location with this. According to our our path here, we see that we entered users, market, documents, and then form, and then this the HTML document here. So if I want to save a .css file, I need to save it just right inside the document folder. So I'll just come right here, click, and then come and save as. I need to go and see what is happening. Okay, right here, document, just to make sure. Then right here I can give it a name. The name is abc.css. So abc.css is the very first name I'm giving this extension. Now this means that this and this should be at the same place. Form and ABC. So ABC should be able to manipulate the form. So this is a .css file. This is a HTML file. Now let's see if it works. Now the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to see if I can. Here we have a body here. So let me just use the body to try. The body is going to be the selector, and then we're going to have background color. We can have the green yellow. Now this green yellow is supposed to, we need to save that, and then we need to see whether it is responding. Now what I will always do is to come here and see if I have my ABC file is here and the form is here. So in this case I will load this form, then I would refresh it. Now if I refresh it, it's supposed to show me what is happening. Now apparently, let me close all these forms. Okay, ABC is here. Okay, let me see what's happening. abc.css file. Okay, I know what's happening. Now nothing can happen. It's good that we have just gone through this small motion. Nothing can happen if there is no link between the form and the CSS document or file. So in this case, we don't have any link here. So what we're supposed to do, we're supposed to create a link just right here in the head section, and then we can have its style sheet, and then just the relation with the style sheet, and then we can have the type here. You can have, we have text CSS, and then we can have the href to refer to that. So this is the link that takes us to abc.css. It's just right there. And once we do that, you can see, boom, on the other side, it has linked. So what is happening now? This, even just before closing this link, let me just close it. The link is closed, and there we are. We have a .css file that is already making changes to what? To our former file. So that means that this ABC is the one that is making changes to this form. So this is a different file, which is external, is a different file. So we can test it and see how it works. You can on the body you can change the color again just to be sure that it is the one back color. Then you can say you can put aqua right there, and then if it is the one we need to save, okay, let me just make sure that everything is fine. I'm just starting all together. Then we can just say this body, and then we can have background color, and then aqua, aquamarine, something like that. Now, once that is done, it's supposed to change here immediately. Now, the best place to usually see it is using this external uh, or the browser. This is not the browser, this is a preview. It will change with time, I know that. So sometimes I always close here because it doesn't respond quickly. So if I do that, I would just modify this one like that. So it means that if I come here and say dot blue violet or berry wood, something like that, and I come and I refresh here, it changes immediately. So it means that it's always better for you to refresh from the browser because you just see instantly what is going to happen. So now let us look at this code and see the very many things that we are going to try and change and manipulate, but using the CSS file. Now in this case, we have the title here, we have the link, we don't attach that, but we have a small division here that calls itself the intro. And this intro is like an opening message or an urgent message that you want to pass to all students before anything is done. Now, in this case, let me just say something here. This message is under an ID by the name intro, and this is a small division. And this division can be manipulated. We can try and see if it's possible for us to manipulate this division. So we can call div and see if we can change its background color, just that. So this is the first, and then div. Okay, once we have that, we can talk about background color, and then we can brown. It's brown like that. We can, okay, then that means that this small section can be manipulated. So it means that this div from here to here, from where it starts to where it ends, then it's about 3 lines or 2 lines. We can change that. Now, then that means we can also change the messages or the paragraphs that are right inside the div. Now, before we even go far, let's just try something here. When we have an ID, something for us to note. When we have an ID and at the same time when we have a class, there is a way in which we can reference those two types of information. Now, first, note that when the ID is being referenced by a CSS file, then we are going to use a hash. When it's a class, then we are going to use a dot. So in this case, we want to try and see if we can manipulate the intro. Now, let's come here to the intro. So for us to be able to access the intro, you put an hash and the name of the ID. Now that is intro, and then we can say font size, we can say it's large, and then once that is done, we can again come here and say we want to talk about the font weight, and then you can talk about it being bold, and then at the same time you can talk about the background color, and then you can say you want it to be tomato, something close to that, and then you have just tried to do what? To manipulate the very fast intro, the very fast section. So when we come here, there we are. We are seeing that the message is already bold and it's already changed its color to tomato. Now, the very first thing we were trying to, very first example we had when we were looking at when we were looking at the CSS syntax, was for us to either manipulate the first header. Now we can come here and see if we can have the header changed. Let me just say H1, and then you can say font weight. Bold. It's bold already, but then we want it to be a little bit bolder. Let's see if there's any change. It's already bold. Okay, no problem. And then we can have the background color. We can have something A, B, C. Okay, color or context blue. It's fine. It's fine. And then we can at the same time have a font family that is Arial Impact Trampucci, something like that. We can choose any, even to see the sun there. It's something that we just want to try and see if it's working. Yes, I'm trying to save there, and I'm just trying to see if I can manipulate. This is what has come up with. So we are able to manipulate the first header. This H1 we have here is the selector. Actually, it's selector specificity. That's what the computer is trying to say. But then know that this is a selector. And what we have inside the curly braces or brackets are declarations. I have got 3 declarations here. And the first property is font weight, and the value is bolder. The second property is background color. The value is cornflower blue. The third property is font family, and then the value is the family of all those font types. So we are able to do that. So we can run up and down and change various things. Now, for us to access, now let me just come back right here before I forget. For us to be able to access a class, let's say you had an element that was given a class, then we can access that element using a dot and its name. In this case, we have this paragraph having a class called agent. So what's going to happen now? Right here inside, we are going to say dot agent. Once you do that, then you open your curly braces and close them up. We can be able to say something about here. Now we can say background color is red, or tomato red is already there. We can call it royal blue. No, blue is already there. We can say green, yes, yellow, green. So meaning that this class agent and the information that we have there is going to be manipulated. So that's what is happening. We can also see and say the font type, or the font size. It is let's say extra large, something like that, and see what happens. We have saved that, and then we can refresh on this other side. Okay, that clearly tells us that the agent class has been picked up and its background changed to green yellow, and then the font has also been changed to extra large. That means that it's very, very important for us to be able to note or to identify elements, sections, and many other things. Like in this case, it's good to have your elements have IDs or classes, so we can always be able to manipulate them. Now, maybe to change one or two other things for us to note on our form here, we have a label at the end, or we can change even what these paragraphs and see what happens. We can change the font type. That alone can be just good for us to note. So we can say P and then font family, yes. Let's go to serif, or let's go to okay. In the event you have so many like this one, in the event you have them and you want to like use one, you can just simply put it inside quotation marks. Might work. Now let's see if these paragraphs, all the P's we have in our work, are going to change. Okay, all these P's have changed, and then let me just make them font size larger. larger. Yes, larger like that. And then I can always, oh, okay, they've gone larger. So it's very clear that we can always manipulate all information inside a HTML form using a .css file. What has actually happened? I haven't really like modified this. I have just written a small .css file, and it's the one that is doing all these changes. So you can see a lot is happening. The label down there, the final one is label. I think the only label we have in this form. Now in this case, you can just come here and then just say label, just like that. And then you can always say font size. And then you can say extra large. And then once that is done, we can come here and see if it can work. This is the University of the 21st century, so it's working. You can say font, okay. Font, okay, background is what is just easy to illustrate with. Background color, and then you can have ivory or hot pink coming there, and then we can always see that it's having the effects there. So what I'm trying to say is this: it's possible for us to manipulate things on our HTML document using an external HTML file, not an external .css file. So that is what has happened. We went further and said that it is even possible to do what? To manipulate tables and the elements inside tables. Now, in our previous class, we had this table. Let me see. These two tables were constructed in our previous class, and we can use the same technique to manipulate the elements inside the table and the work that surrounds this table. The very first thing that we need to do is to find out where this file is situated. It is right inside documents, web technologies, notes, and then program codes. That's where the table document is located. Now I would just come up with a new CSS file, and I'll try to save it right inside where, yes, web technologies. So table1.css, yes, table1.css. So these are tables. So tables can as well be manipulated. Now in this case, for example, we have h1. We know that h1 is a selector, and then we can say font size larger, extra large. Okay. Let's talk about extra small. Now, what's gonna happen now? We are not going to see it happen immediately. Let me open program codes, and then we have the table here. Yes, once I have it here, it's much better. Nothing is happening simply because I haven't made the link. So once I do the link, I'll come here to the table, and then right here inside the head, I'm going to create the link. This link, the first thing is rel, then you just the style sheet, and then type, you say text slash CSS, and then href, then you can say it is table 1 dot CSS. And then once that is done, you can always do what? You can always close that. So once it's closed, you can now come right here, and see if that is gonna work. Now it's always better for us to try with this one. Aha, table without borders. So the link is there and it is working, but this is not the table. This is not the table. Let me just make it extra large. Extra large, it's better for us to see. I want to close this preview because it doesn't work quite first. The preview is closed. Right here. Okay, there we have. We can have its background color change to hot pink, and then we can see if that is true. Sorry, yes, to hot pink. Ah, hot pink. Wow, something is happening. All tables are turning to hot pink now. I would now explain why, because this is header 1 and this is header 1 according to our, yes, this is another header 1 here. So if you want to avoid some of these things, you divide them into sections. That's very, very important. Now for us either to manipulate, let's say this table headers th, so the table is here, table headers, we can just come right here to table 1 and then say this and then say something like this. I think it's gonna work. Let me just confirm from here and see. Sorry, I'm see the tables here. The table header. Okay, let me just manipulate both table headers. It's th. Yeah, it's there. Font weight. I can call it border. So all these table headers are supposed to be border. And apart from that, font family, it all has a ticker, something like that. So let's see if that's gonna work. Okay, now this is table headers changing and all other data inside the tables are not changing. So that means that we can be able to change some aspects of tables and leave others also unchanged. So that is table. I wanted to show how we can change even very specific. Now let's just go to all the tables. It doesn't matter, but you can separate the sections and then give the tables names or classes or IDs and then manipulate them separately. It works perfectly. That works perfectly. So in this case, I can just say that tr table rows and then table or data, and then inside there we can now talk about now what we want to change: the font size, we can talk about extra small, yeah, and then we can set changing the background color to, let me see if it's dark. Yes, sorry, dark cyan. There's something like that. Let's see what happens now when we refresh this. Okay, all the tables and the information inside have been changed to dark cyan, and now you can even go much further. Extra large. Now let me make it large for visibility's sake. Yes, you can now even go much further and start changing each cell what you want. So it's possible to use CSS even to manipulate tables, to manipulate elements, and all these are external sheets. So I just want to invite you to try them and then see the power that cascading style sheets has on your website. Otherwise, we'll talk more about this, but for now, thank you.